Tom in New York, you were finishing up a statement. Go ahead.
Alex, I'm really trying to help you and everybody else involved with this, so I'm going to slow down and we're going to take this real quick point by point because these are the most important points I think that have been made so far in all this. Again, getting back to what your second caller stated about somebody close to the officer's significant other calling in a St. Louis radio station last week, giving a statement that was passed on to her, which I personally myself cannot vet, does match up with eyewitness accounts during the shooting of Michael Brown that both put him exactly in the same position in the street, both for what was said to have occurred in the shooting, that he was charging the officer, and the exact distance. Now, with these two people never having met, I cannot believe that this is only a coincidence. As well, the Ferguson police chief on Friday in his initial police conference did give contradictory statements for anybody paying attention to that very specifically. And I say that to anybody out there that is former law enforcement or still currently involved. You did hear the detailed timeline of the events that occurred, that 11:48, Darren Wilson was responding to a medical call for which he was cleared due to the ambulance arriving on the scene, and his presence was no longer necessary. At 11:51, the theft call came in. Between 11:51 and 11:54, the description of the suspect in the strong-arm robbery was given over that radio. You cannot tell me from 11:48 to 11:54 Darren Wilson did not receive this information. So at some point upon his encounter with Michael Brown, he was aware of his status as a suspect. I highly doubt in the frame of mind that he was in, he was not still holding the box of Swisher Sweets, which, going back to that, if you let me continue on this, please, it's a very important point. I used to work with anti-theft apprehension back in New York. Most thieves are usually criminals of opportunity. Being something petty and small time as this, if Mr. Brown in no way had any involvement with any form of narcotics in his system during this altercation, then I do not believe he would have blatantly entered his store in broad daylight, gone over the counter, taken what he wanted.
Sure, he was obviously bombed out of his brain when you watch the video, and they get Swisher Sweets. Folks get those to load them with the marijuana. That's the style of smoking it.
2 or 3 of these, he grabbed an entire box.
No, I know.
That matches up with the statement given by the significant other's friend. Okay? So all these events leading up together, the police chief saying that they cannot be connected, this was after that midday lunch break they took later on in his afternoon press conference.
Sure, but look. The larger point I'm trying to get at here, I keep saying the issue, is that they're trying to start a race war. Obama and the globalists want this. They've already made preparations for it. That's what I'm getting at. And they're going to then switch it and flip it onto the Tea Party because that's what the real training is for. 9 times out of 10, they are training to take on American gun owners. Can you imagine what that will look like for the police and military?
Because I'll be right next to you in it. But the thing about it is this. We got to nip this thing in the bud and go back to the original incident that set all this off. And right now, another big thing I think that is being hugely overlooked in all this, you cannot tell me that the St. Louis Police Department, as well as the medical examiner's office, has never collected forensic evidence or done an autopsy on a murder victim. Now, if the significant other story is correct, the gun was supposedly trying to be taken away from the officer inside the vehicle at his hip position. Now, Dorian, Michael Brown's friend, who I don't know what credibility you can give to him being involved in the robbery, 1 foot behind him and not considered an accomplice.
Look, I'm here trying to cover the sensational nature of reality, to get people out of their comfort zone, to get them out of their trance, so they see how serious things are, so we get past the normalcy bias and people get upset and we can turn back the tide. Obama opening the borders without even an executive order. An executive order would be treason. Just doing it. Putting our military under UN control in NATO. Running all these scams, fast and furious. Shutting down our power plants. Common Core. Looting the Treasury with banker bailouts. I mean, it is just, it's insane. We have a chance to turn it around if we decide we can, if we decide to get involved and quit only caring about football or Dancing with the Stars. Anybody who watches cop shows where every episode a gun owner is going to mass murder people or a veteran is going to mass murder. I mean, none of that's really happening. Statistically, conservatives and libertarians have the lowest crime rate. Look it up in the Justice Department's own numbers. Constitutionalists, the lowest crime rate. I mean, you start researching patriots, we are like the most law-abiding good people. What does the government do? Oh, they're the bubbas. They're going to rebel. Well, of course you try to take our guns or stick us in a FEMA camp. Yeah. We're not going to go loot stores and throw Molotov cocktails. You know what's going to happen. And the globalists want to execute the military and the police running that operation. And I keep telling people this isn't a game, okay? I'm going to shut up now. Tom in New York, you've been holding since earlier. You made some points. Finish in 1 minute right now. I got to get to Chris and John and Alex and Brian and others. Go ahead.
You got it. You're getting your edge back, but that's exactly it. This all needs to stop so that everybody stops being played pawns into this to corral everybody into what you're talking about. I'm begging the St. Louis County coroner, medical examiner's office, as well as the forensic techs out there, come forward with the evidence you have. You know whether there was an altercation that happened inside that vehicle or whether or not Michael Brown was shot in a running forward position. They know exactly what went on that triggered this whole event. I'm begging them to come forward despite the fact that the feds have now taken over the autopsy.
And explain why that's important.
Why that's important is because this whole thing was triggered by what was believed to be the execution of an unarmed man by a member of law enforcement. Once that truth comes out as to what the reality was that set this off, the whole jig will be up. The feds organize chaos to play everybody as pawns against each other, to bring in martial law. As you continually hammer on every day, again, that operation can be destroyed, pushed by the wayside. It will not stop them completely, but at least we can move past this one point of chaos where this thing explodes.
That's a great point. How to get past the point of chaos. Thank you so much. Because I just want to have a country. I want to have stability. I don't want to have a civil war. Got a bunch of idiot thugs trying to get one going. Got the police shooting reporters for no reason. It's just a disaster. Why aren't they releasing it? Because a lot of witnesses are confirming what the police said now, black witnesses. So why aren't they releasing it? The whole thing's very suspicious. And again, people are like, well, it's one dead guy out of all the other stuff happening. Why is it such a big deal? Because the media is making it a big deal. Chris in Vegas, former police officer, your take on the situation. Thanks for holding. Chris, you still there? Come back to him and see if he's there. Alex in Minnesota, former Army. What is your take on this?
Hey, Alex, I just want to talk a little bit about how if you just sit back and look at this situation, it just reminds me of the first Civil War, how Missouri is involved again. And I'm a student of history. I just find it ironic that the same players are involved again. And I think we should all just sit back and look at what's going on. And then my second point is I think we have a problem with bully culture, and it's just everywhere now.
You know, I was thinking that the other day in the car, listening to talk radio, about the thug knockout game culture, about redneck groups acting like thugs, the police doing that. You either have a bully culture or you don't. And you're right, it's bully culture. It's men that think it's tough to get in groups and then mess with people that aren't doing anything. And if you look at the thugs running around bullying our reporters, and they were doing that the last 3 days, now they mirror the police. It's like the thugs and the cops are acting like the same thing. Is that what you're getting at, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. What I see is whether it was, we seen Mike Brown in the video was being a bully, whether the police, they were being bullies with him, but definitely the police were being bullies with the protesters. And like you said, the protesters being bullies against you guys. It's just a pervasive thing. I think what's wrong with our country is our value on human dignity, and we don't value life anymore.
That's right. Started out with 53 million babies getting killed in the last 40 years. People say bad stuff can never come here. It has come here. People say, oh, it can never happen here. It did happen here, and now it's getting worse. Great points, Alex. Great call. Is Chris back from Vegas? Let's check that. Okay, Chris, former police, what's your view on this?
Well, I'm calling from Fremont Region Zone 9 on a truth jihad on InfoWars. Thank you very much, Alex.
Well, thanks for calling, Chris. What do you think's going on?
Well, you're exactly right. This is a mass psyops operation using the Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution. And they're trying to divide and conquer, creating a false paradigm of race-based division using the black groups versus the white groups, the white police of Ferguson in the state against the new Black Panthers brought in by the Department of Justice as their local crisis management observers. This is classic Sun Tzu arts of war that you're seeing here, absolutely.
Where do you see it going?
Well, what I really see is on Gateway Pundit, they had a map to Ferguson's house, and several different media units from the lamestream media had published critical details and done productions showing exactly where Darren Wilson lives. It's my contention that what they will do is a Chris Dorner sort of thing. There will be some sort of illusion of a takeout of Darren Wilson to diffuse the issue. He'll be put into the witness protection program and rotated to some other remote jurisdiction or given a plush retirement to keep quiet forever and made to disappear like they do here in Las Vegas and other locations when they get caught doing criminal things that makes a large...
You are correct that CNN and others are showing where the police officer lives at and even how to get there. That is obviously to put it in someone's mind to go there. It'd be one thing if they said his name, but showing where he lives, I mean, that is wild.
Well, and this plays into their 10 United States Code 2358, the Strong Firm National Defense Act of 1961, and its evil twin sister, which is the Freedom from War, the United States Program for General and Complete Disarmament.
7277. Chris, stay there. We're doing some overdrive. I want to let you finish up. Paul is going to break the news with the documentation in T-minus 5 minutes. I want it red-linked. The U.S. Army publicly prepares to shoot unarmed citizens in new manual. I don't know what his headline is going to be, but it's just bombshell. I've got the document right here. In fact, I've got part of it. Will you get Nemo? He was in there writing a story about it, too, to print me the whole thing, or somebody, too. Thank you. Just when you see documents like that, just print me the whole thing. Thanks. I know it's over 100 pages long. It's got the diagrams of where to shoot the unarmed people. It's unbelievable treason. And they're openly trying to get the military to go along with this. The destabilization will be real, though. Just like IS killing people is real. It's just the globalists funded them, protected them, turned them loose. The Ferguson family has now come out and said that their son was murdered, and they've got this medical examiner come in from town, celebrity medical examiner, saying it was an execution, obviously to stir all this up a lot more. This is going from bad to worse by the minute. And don't worry, the globalists will have other tricks up their sleeves to destabilize. Chris, other points. Where do you see all this going? And you were getting to 7277 and the plan for complete and total disarmament in the U.S. by UNESCO and the UN under Treaty 1961 and the plan to use civil unrest to do it.
Well, absolutely. In fact, Fritz was speaking of the same thing, the bloodlines of the Illuminati, that 10 United States Code 2358, the Strong National Defense Act of 1961, was actually Prescott Bush template. And, of course, its progeny is the National Defense Authorization Act, or like we in the truth community call it, the Kill a Patriot Act. And I think what you're seeing here is what we talked about the last time I was on, the asymmetrical form of war. This is a form of war against the American people. It is a slow boiling frog style of it, where they inculcate it by incrementalism, and this is exactly what we're seeing. And if they can stir up a confrontation, even if they have to put provocateurs in the audience like they did last night with a protesting crowd, to fire shots on the police to provide the stimulus to provoke the police reaction they seek to elicit, then it doesn't matter whether it's the protesters do it or the provocateurs do it, they'll still have the same result they're looking for to create an effectual war on the streets of St. Louis.
We're going to find out the National Guard is showing up there with heavy armored vehicles, and we're going to have reporters there. All I know is the National Guard better not target my reporters. I wonder how they got the police to target innocent reporters on the news. I mean, is that meant to demonize the police? Why would they follow those orders?
Because your truth-based news reporting has put the sunshine of light on these global terrorists in the White House. The Department of Justice, Eric Holder, the shyster for the pretender POTUS, Barack Hussein Obama, and his criminal cabal that is perpetrating this devious form of revolutionary takeover of this country under the guise of protecting the public from all these terrorists.
Well, the military that I talked to gets it. A lot of the police are starting to get it. I just can't see from a catbird seat, because I'm not in the catbird seat, really how the game's going. But if we end up losing to this, I don't know what to say, because we know their game plan. It's just, can people realize that we know what we're talking about, or will we allow the globalists to win with Cloward and Piven with this destabilization program? What do you think?
I think we have one prayer, Alex, and that's if a large element of the military is awake enough to know what's going on, that they're being used as pawns in this global game.
I agree, but what do they do when 10,000 people are trying to shoot them or burn them? The fight happens regardless, because even if it's staged, it's still real. John in Texas, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex.
Go
I
ahead.
grew up in the 1960s, Alex. I was in high school when all these riots broke out in the 60s. And in fact, I lived an hour outside of Detroit when the Detroit riot broke out. And one of the things that we got out of those riots in the 1960s was the 1968 Gun Control Act. And one of the things they used to push it was that the black revolutionaries were easily able to order guns through the mail and stuff. And that was one of the selling points of it.
That's how they passed the 68 Gun Control Act.
And I'm seeing the same people back then that were working to start the riot, these communist revolutionaries funded by the tax-exempt foundations, are the same people that probably in Ferguson, they're probably working in other cities right now trying to get things riled up as it is as we speak now.
That's right. We need to show how black riots were used in the 60s to restrict the Second Amendment, and you better believe that's the game plan now. And you won't hear any conservative media talking about the government and the Ford Foundation and the Justice Department. Only Drudge dare link to our article proving DOJ and communists are working with New Black Panthers to hijack Ferguson protest. Only Drudge will tell people that, other than Infowars.com. And this is totally scripted. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah, so if riots break out in other cities, Alex, we know who's responsible for it, who's behind it, and what's going to come out of this. More gun control, more restrictions.
Absolutely. I appreciate your call. God bless you. By the way, Paul has his headline out. The headline's not hardcore enough. He's listening right now. Document, Army preparing to use lethal force against unarmed Americans during full-scale riots in the U.S. That is super hardcore, but I can't think of something as super hardcore as the document itself. Civil disturbances, April 2014, released 2 days ago. Our listeners just sent it to us today. Approved for public release, distribution is unlimited. Headquarters, Department of the Army. And it's how to process your Social Security numbers, where to shoot Americans who are unarmed, how to terrorize the public by killing the citizens. And then you wonder why the police following this manual, that's what you got to do, courses on this to get the armored vehicles. Then you wonder why they fired at unarmed reporters. It's to terrorize the public, which actually they're lying to them. It only makes the public get more mad. This is so diabolical. We're going to get to Tom in Missouri as well during the interview with Paul Watson. I'm going to try to focus when we go to break, come back and get into all this. We need to red link this article on Infowars.com. It just went live. Everybody on Facebook needs to put this out to everyone you know. If you have a website, copy it to your website. Document, Army preparing to use lethal force against unarmed civilians. That's a quote. During full-scale riots, that's a quote. Training manual outlines sniper response during crowd control operations. Snipers to be used on peaceful demonstrators. And then Kurt Nimmo didn't even know Paul was working on this. He simultaneously put his own article out. U.S. Army releases action plan for civil unrest during Ferguson riot. Jones here for Infowars.com. We're going to be intensifying our efforts to awaken free humanity to the scourge of the globalist in the month of July. And starting this July 4th, we are going to slash prices in a celebration of true Americana, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence on all of the Made in America products that you will find at madein1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in brass and nickeled brass that state it loud and proud. Molon Labe. That's why we have the best-selling Made in America men's and women's Molon Labe Infowars.com shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a win-win. You vote with your dollars. You support the most hardcore organization out there for promoting true ideas of libertarianism, constitutionalism, basic human empowerment. But more importantly, you get T-shirts and belt buckles so you can meet like-minded people. So you have a conversation starter with friends and family and coworkers. We are reaching out to each other. And you also throw it in the face of the anti-gunners and the rest of the parasites out there that you're a free man and woman and that you're not going to be a slave, that you're not going to be intimidated to shut up by their tyranny that they call political correctness. That's why in the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at madein1776.com. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the biggest special in the history, 13 years of PrisonPlanet.tv, our multimedia platform. We're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv, and you get 11 memberships that can be used with the same username and passcode so you can share it with friends and family. Now is the time to fund the war bonds. Now is the time to fund the InfoWar. Now is the time to get aggressive. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to realize you are the people that made the InfoWar so successful and one of the leading lights worldwide against tyranny. You don't stand behind us, you stand right beside us, and I salute all of you on this July 4th, 2014, and going forward in the month of July and onward. This is about freedom worldwide and that desire for human dignity and self-determination that beats in the human breast. We are brothers and sisters together in the true spirit of liberty and the animating contest of liberty. And so I quote in closing the great Thomas Jefferson that I have sworn on the altar of God resistance against every form of tyranny. And never forget, if you are watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.